Well, thank you very much for that, for this wonderful opportunity. I can actually summarize my talk in 11 words. And I was not going to do this. I was on the train from London, and I was going to summarize this. I'm like, I got to share this with people. Risk is an emotive word that masks the value of uncertainty. Let me repeat that again. Risk is an emotive word that masks the value of uncertainty. Fascinating book. I don't know the guy. Ronald Cohen, The Second Bounce of the Ball. If you're into the entrepreneurship aggregators, it's about acquisitions and mergers. You've got to get this book. Fantastic book. I'm obsessed with risk. I'm obsessed with uncertainty. I'm obsessed with career management and life stories. And Prabhat told me you've got to share your life story today. My parents were war refugees from Sri Lanka. Grew up in a council estate. Had very, very bad people around me. No high school education. I dropped out of GCSEs. I was working in Tesco. At 21, I decided to go back to education. So here I was, and I had a real talent in biology. At 21, I went from no high school education to Imperial at 24. 26, I was at Oxford. 28, I went to Harvard. And by 30, I was vice president of a pharmaceutical company, and I also was assistant professor. I'm obsessed with risk, uncertainty, career management, and making most of people. I recently, 9 months ago, quit my job, and I went into a full-time Amazon seller. And everyone's like, why are you taking this risk? Because I've learned so much during my life experience at 35 years on this earth that said risk is about how you mask the emotive word of uncertainty. And you've got to balance that out. So I'm just a seller. I'm not selling anything. I just want to share with you my Amazon journey. 5 slides, 5 basic slides. We'll skip the questions. We'll go straight into drinks. So these are my 5 slides. How I started, cash flow, the fight, the expand, how to expand, exit. I haven't exited the Amazon business yet, but I'll talk about some exit strategies. Now, who's watched this movie, I Am Legend? Hands up. Fantastic movie, right? The premise is, if you haven't watched it, Will Smith in New York, I believe, fighting a disease, a pandemic, and he's probably the last man on earth, and he's trying to find a cure. Here I am, no Will Smith, not good looking enough. But here I am in China at the start and during the pandemic itself with my FFP3 mask. Chinese, I work with them, I love them, they're really disciplined. Overnight, the whole city in Suzhou went into a ghost town. I felt like the movie I'm a Legend. I walked down the roads here, no one, dead. And for some reason, my company gave me a flat without any kitchen. So there were no restaurants open, there were no shops open. The only thing I had to do is go into the best hotels, and they gave me the best discounts because no one was there, and I just worked. And I realized in the evening got full with all these Chinese old gentlemen, and they used to take each of these chairs. So I had no family or friends. All my colleagues actually went away. So I made an effort. I took the risk to say, here's my Microsoft app. I'm going to translate everything. And I sat down with each individual in this table, and I just talked with someone new. I found out most of them were factory owners in China, outside Shanghai and Suzhou. And everyone kept saying about Amazon FBA. Here I was, a geek in biology, right? And I didn't know what Amazon FBA was. So I went away, Googled, looked at the data. This is fascinating stuff. Went back the next day, talked to everyone on the table. They're like, can you help me with this case law? Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? So I love helping people. I love sharing knowledge. So I just helped them with English translation and so forth. Then I saw the margins. I'm like, I'm going to take the risk. So that's how I started Amazon FBA. I have a very original logo here, one extra word, right? Because that's what I learned. And some of these topics, I'm not going to go through them because I know some of the speakers have touched upon it. But it's the why. People talk about passion and talent. They're great, but I think it's oversold by Hollywood. You've got to back your strengths and your weaknesses. The data is very clear. You can only do so much. You've got to back your strengths. And why, by the way, making money is a good why. People say it's not that good, but making money is a good why, and it helps. You make the money first, then you change the world. That's what I've learned from studying history. And this is what I used to do for students. So I took students from public schools, the best schools in London, outside London, anywhere in the world, and I took kids from small villages in Africa into Oxford and Cambridge. And I've learned one thing, and I've also taken people who are meek and who are shy, and I gave them a managerial position and they thrive. One of the things I've learned is people think big, but they don't think smartly. Strategically backing your strengths, and you can't do much about your weakness. And because I've failed 348 times for applications, and then people thought, what kind of background is this? I've learned all 348 applications that helped me. So every failure to me is a learning curve, and I just did it. So once I talked to those factory owners, within 3 days, I set up a British business from China, and I started my Amazon seller account. And so at this point, the start, I have a de-risking table. I research, keyword and direct relationship, and who you know. I think it's a fine balance. People talk about search volume and blah, blah, blah. What's worked for me is, who do I know, and who can I kind of access from my network to get the best prices into the best marketplaces. And then I also look at the PPC average and how to rank it. So those are my tips and what's worked for me. And guys, please, some of you think that you have a unique selling idea point, but please, it must be unique, right? Because and ask someone else that's not you, because you're always unconsciously biased. One of the best ideas is actually Nicholas told me an idea that one of these people actually worked with oxygen tanks. Their mother was ill or something, and they thought oxygen tanks, you need respirators, but they have no cover, so they designed covers. And that's very unique. But some of the ideas I get across my table, and people say, Pradeep, can you help me, are not very unique. So please be careful. And the second slide and the point is cash flow. We all know the name of the game is cash flow. And no one talks about it, but cash flow is vital. So simply keep as much as you can and so you can play the game. Amazon, doesn't it hurt when you have bi-monthly payments? Really hurts, right? So how can you get around it? I'll tell you. And this is what I see when people, I mentor people sometimes. They don't monitor PPC very well. Oh, you know what? I have a 4-hour work week. I work 5 minutes on Amazon. Bullshit. You work hard in life. You work hard. Hard work pays off, right? This notion of Hollywood, like I'm at the beach on your laptop, is great, but you've got to work hard and you've got to work consistent. There's no way around it, right? And that's why it annoys me with the YouTube generation, because it's brainwashing kids. So how do I de-risk that cash flow? This is what I did. So by the way, 18 months, it was 1.5 million in revenue. In 12 months, it's 1.1 million so far in revenue. So how do I scale up from that kind of scale? So what I did, I de-risk. So invoice financing, there's a lot of people, the Department of Trade and other finances do invoice financing. Inventory financing, people who pay 70% of your inventory cost, you pay 30% and you get stock in. Has anyone heard of this? Anyone heard of these tactics? There you go. But none of most are Amazon sellers. So if you guys are trying to think of starting it, there's ways around it. It doesn't matter where you're from. You can, if you want it, you go and get it. And you have actually platforms that do daily and weekly allowances. Can you believe it? So they'll give you a net proceed of your Amazon sale on a daily basis up to 90%, thinking about your health. And then they'll take a percentage. And again, please monitor your PPC adjustment. Right at the moment, I'm using an AI program for PPC. I've used agencies, I've used people, but I'm a hard bastard. I look at those data, I look at those monthly adjustments. I say, what are the key days? Where is the spike? Where are the hours? Where are the customers coming from? What are the keywords? And they keep changing. And people don't know this. They keep changing. You've got to adjust. 4-hour work week. A lot of bullshit. Third slide. Fight, guys. Competition, obviously, is about ranking. Keywords and badges. Badges are very important. By the way, I went around white label, and people told me, what are you selling? Yeah, okay. Oh, great, you're Donsfield. Oh my God, you got Amazon Choice. No, Amazon Choice is for Donsfield. It doesn't mean if you have an Amazon Choice badge for your brand is a big thing, right? So work on ranking Amazon Choice for keywords. And those keywords change as well. Black hats. When I would grow up, when we had to go to a fight, we say, let's go, bro. Let's go. That's how we went into a fight. And what happens is, I want to illustrate this. 1990, does anyone know this fight? 1990, Tyson at its peak. Buster Douglas 42 to 1 ratio. 42 to 1 to win, right? Took serious hits from Mike Tyson and knocked Mike Tyson out. Biggest upset in boxing history. Asked him after what happened. He said 2 days ago my mother died. Before my mother died, he said she promised me I would knock out Mike Tyson and win the heavyweight title. And he did it. His why was stronger. And I love this because you got to fight. People don't realize, we go to these conferences and people say, oh yeah, fantastic, very well. Yeah, Amazon's a friendly environment, great, we have a community. But there's actually ruthless people out there in certain countries that will keep coming at you. And there's a period where I got 16 attacks, and every Friday they would attack me. So every Thursday morning I would wake up and I was ready to go. I'd be contacting Amazon. Yes, people will say, you have brand transparency, Project Zero, brand registry, trademark. Yes, we all know that, but you're going to get black hat tactics. You're going to get hijackers. Fill your flat files. Every cell, fill it up. Some of you are smiling because you know. And every hijacker, take them on. Complain. Harass Amazon. I find it very, seriously, I find it very well, right? We actually phone Amazon if you're in the UK at night, because the Costa Ricans, the Mexicans, and the Spanish, Latin Americans pick it up for some reason, and they're very good. During the morning, they don't pick it up. I don't know what happens. So that kind of little golden nugget really helps. And also, I find the second or third person on the phone helps you more than the first person. So that really helps. We talked about brand registry, good lawyers. There's some great Amazon-specific lawyers out there. Get them. If you don't know them, I can introduce them. I have no links or affiliate marketing with them. But once they can be expensive, but once you use them, the template's there. So you can always go back and use the template, change your ASIN, change your complaint. And defend your ASINs, right? Use your PPC strategically to defend your ASINs. If competitors advertising in your listing, bid higher, bid strong, and defend your ASINs. So, expand. Full slide, guys. One more to go, then we go drinks. Expand. Expansion is something fascinating. How many of you actually read this book, The Bezos Letters? Anyone? How many of you know Jeff Bezos? How many of you sell on Amazon? How many of you have read his shareholder letters? Fantastic mind, brilliant mind, obviously. So the Bezos letter summarizes his principles of each letter and so forth. I know Nish is here in the audience, right? Nish, you used to work at Amazon. Now you're with some aggregator. And they talk about every year Jeff Bezos writes to his shareholder saying, these are the targets, this is what it, and he ends it very, he goes, I refer you and I attach you our shareholder letter from year one. He always talks about day one. It's always day one with Amazon and his principles of Amazon. Fantastic book, kind of summarizes Amazon's principles. And what he talks about here is return of risk. Not ROI, but return of risk. So Bezos, every time he took money, he actually put the risk higher. Amazon Fire, the phone that failed, the luxury good brands that Amazon wanted to have. All these failures were billion-dollar failures, but no one talks about it. So his return of risk was fascinating to understand. So he experimented wisely. So I massively spent on launch. I failed more products than I won products. My strategy might not work for you. Is stock up in Q2, go aggressive in Q3. So Q4, you're ranked already, right? So people go aggressive on Q4, but I went aggressive in Q3. It works. Cash is king. Again, cash will always win. I have a mixture of air and ocean shipping. At the moment, we do small and light. That's a trick I think works for me. I keep it small and light, try to get more volume and express air. I use OPM. Does anyone know what OPM means? I use other people's money to help me. Alright? So, inventory funding, in-source funding, all these fundings around. Ask around, and Department of Finance is around. And some of the platforms now will help you as well. Now, there'll be some fascinating talks about white label and here about expansion, which is great. I'm not telling you not to expand, but I actually have cut down marketplace in ASINs, concentrated on my strengths, concentrated on my marketplaces, and it boomed. So sometimes it might be logical to go the other way, right? More is never better. And if you cannot beat them, you buy them out. And I'll tell you why you buy them out. I have not exited my company, or am I wishing to exit? I know you're laughing because you want my company. But can I tell you a fascinating story? Before I was VP of Business Development, we had a lot of acquisitions in Europe and the Middle East. Averages are 60 million. The biggest deal we done was 220 million for factories for pharmaceutical companies across Europe. And one of the stories I remember reading about by a book called Decoding Greatness. They studied best business models across history, Decoding Greatness, fantastic book, was you think Just Eat and Uber Eats are fantastic models, like original? They're not original. There's a guy in the 80s that had something called taxi takeaways. He had an idea that somehow people will phone, place an order, and the taxis will deliver food. The investors laughed at him. Who will have actually takeaways coming to your door? Now it's $1 billion industry. His timing was wrong. So, as we heard, right time, sell on the up. Now, when I went to board meetings, mergers and acquisition, I used to lick my lips. It was a competition. It was a big table, and I was there. I'm like, what am I looking for? How is this a strategic challenge? How can my company benefit? So these are the things I look for. Not in Amazon, but in terms of the pharma industry. Brand and product, obviously. Value for money. I look for this the most out of any other person on the table. Competence and ability of the seller. It will tell a lot. If you're not prepared to exit, and if you don't know, I can read you out straight away, and I can know how competent you are in the space. I can know how lazy you are, I can know your talents in certain fields. And people are savvy, they'll pick it up. So how do you de-risk this? So sell on the up, look at other competitors' portfolio. If Unibrands are coming to you, if Terrasio is coming for you, look at their portfolios if you can. See what's your advantages and disadvantages, and let them fight for it. There's no harm. Let people fight for it. By the way, when you go to invoice financing, ask for better rates and interest. How many of you actually phoned up the credit card dealers and said to negotiate interest rates down? No one. You can do that. You can say someone else has better interest rates, but no one does it. Same thing for this. Negotiate. Let them fight for it. That's what I did with certain acquisitions and mergers. And the last one is world events of demand. Obviously, we know about Ukraine. But did you know Sri Lanka has run out of foreign currency reserves? Do you know that? They are begging for people to buy from them. They have empty planes ready to ship things out. Massive textile, massive tea brands. They are begging for it. Huge opportunities, but people don't know. Did you know Ethiopia does extremely well in sock sales? They actually sell some of the best socks and textiles for major brands. No one knows. World events, FT and Morningstar helps me a lot. So I wanted these, particularly during buyout phases, and I looked at it. So that's me, guys. Thank you. That was quick, I believe.